What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Daily Entrepreneur. I'm James. I'm here with Jack and Josh, and we are the School of Hard Knocks. Without further ado, we're going to get right into today's topics, starting with tech company Amazon has just announced its largest company firing, and they will be laying off over 18,000 people. Now, CEO Andy Jassy came out and said that this year's review has been more difficult given the uncertainty of the economy, and they've hired rapidly over the last several years. Now, ultimately, the teams that are going to be most affected by this are going to be Amazon stores and the people experience and technology solutions. So what are your guys' kind of thoughts on this and just the recent firings that have been happening in big tech? What do you guys ultimately think about all this?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if we ever get a turnaround, because we've just seen this common trend over the last several months of one company after the other just doing massive layoffs. And I think like a big highlight was when we were talking a lot about Meta a couple months ago, and they were cutting divisions strategically. That company, I kind of understand needing to make some cuts because they're investing a lot of money in technology that I just don't think the market's ready for. But if you look at a company like Amazon, it's pretty interesting that you're seeing stats that consumer spending is up despite there being a looming recession. You would assume that Amazon would be doing pretty well. So it's interesting to see that, you know, they're the ones having to make cuts and layoffs unless Bezos is taking the Zuck approach.
Well, one thing I was going to say is that, like, I guess their quarter 3 or quarter 4 reports were far less than what were projected. And granted, yes, the uncertainty of the economy, but I also want to think, like, if you look at the teams that are being impacted and fired from the most, it's a lot of the people that deal with like people experience and technology solutions. So I again wonder if a lot of that is going to be replaced with various programs that are put in place, or AI. I wonder if that has kind of a role in this as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just think this is scary. This is a major company, and it's been all of these major tech companies that are just company after company just losing thousands of members. And something that I think we will see, you made a great point there, is that a lot of these processes and systems like support and stuff like that, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more
It's already dog shit as it is. Let's be honest, though. Trying to get in contact with a lot of these big tech companies or social media platforms, like regardless as it is, it sucks.
Yeah, I just think we're going to see more and more automated systems to just go ahead and try to replace people. And really, the only time where you're actually going to be able to speak to someone is when the support has to be taken to another higher level. So
yeah, like I said, man, I mean, they really need to come out with some sort of training for employees on how to manage systems versus just completely replacing them entirely. That's how you keep the jobs in order. But I think that moves on to our next article. Yeah. And more news has come out in the FTX situation with Sam Bankman-Fried. It's just reported that him and one of his associates, Gary Wang, that were both partners at FTX, had a 7.6% stake in the trading app Robinhood. Shares were worth about $456 million, and they used it purchasing their fraudulent investment research fund. So what are your guys' kind of thoughts about this? He recently actually just pleaded not guilty to the 8 charges, including wire fraud, that were brought against him. So what are your guys' kind of thoughts on him actually having almost 8% stake in Robinhood?
That's what I was going to say. Like, how long do you know has he been in Robinhood for? Like, do you know how long he's owned that
So
investment?
they opened the investment firm Almeida Research in 2017, and pretty much they would take FTX funds from investors that they'd invest into the platform, and they would shovel it over to Almeida Research, and then everybody involved in Almeida Research basically took a lot of those consumer funds from FTX and invested those into Robinhood. Pretty much they were purchased with consumer money that was invested into FTX.
All I got to say is like this, the more I keep learning, the worse it gets. You know, I just feel like that's just a huge conflict of interest there of like this.
And if Robinhood has anything to do with this whole FTX thing, you know? I
mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Robinhood anymore anyway. Like, because of the whole GameStop thing and them like stopping to letting people trade, it's just like, that's why I'm like, hey, I'm not the biggest fan of Robinhood, but man, it's getting scary, man.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, and I think we definitely need to. I would love to see a live hearing for this FTX scandal. They actually had Kevin O'Leary take the stand, and he gave his thoughts because he was a spokesperson for the company. Apparently, he was paid $15 million for FTX
Wow.
to be a brand ambassador for FTX. He was paid $15 million, and he was like he had to have a hearing. Just basically, I don't think there are any charges brought against him, but he was basically just
I had no idea that
he was
Kevin
being
O'Leary
questioned.
was
Probably
Tom Brady's involved in FTX.
Oh,
as
for
well.
sure. He was probably being questioned as a witness or something like that, and he gave a very in-depth opinion on why he thinks FTX collapsed, and basically he thinks that Binance and the owner of Binance and SBF were basically going back and forth on different business deals, and the owner of Binance pretty much played FTX and completely tried to shove them out of the market, and that's what led to this.
And what's your kind of opinion on that, though? I'm not sure if you were able to watch that statement, but like, is that just life at the end of the day? Like, hey, you're my competitor.
I think
I'm trying
SBF
to-
got played. If what Kevin O'Leary was saying was true, and that's really what happened, then clearly, like, obviously what Sam Bankman-Fried did was he was put in a position where he was basically using investor funds or whatever. I don't know the specifics on that. That's basically what he's being charged on. But apparently, like, what kind of led to a lot of this happening was that the two biggest shares in the marketplace were Binance and FTX, and Binance just completely played FTX like a fiddle.
Crazy.
So I think that moves on to our last topic.
Yeah, so our last topic is we talked about this company a couple months ago, Bed Bath & Beyond, and we were talking about how they were incredibly, I mean, simply put, just down bad, you know. Now their stock is currently trading at what they were doing in 1993. Their sales are down of over 30% of this past year, and now they're saying they're not even going to make it to the next holiday season. Do you think there's any hope for a brand like that, or do you think they're just...
To be honest, I think they're probably, and again, this is just my personal thoughts, I just don't think that they're standing out anymore against like Targets and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people that need the supplies that they're going to get in like Bed Bath & Beyond, unless, you know, you're kind of like have a renowned store. Like I look at Bed Bath & Beyond, I've never not gone to an outlet mall with a Bed Bath & Beyond where the line's not out at the door, which is why this is kind of like confusing to me. But maybe something's off with margins or something like that to where they're not as profitable anymore. But I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's kind of shocking, kind of sad. I remember I used to get my mom Bed Bath & Beyond gift cards, you know. So it was,
Maybe they just need to up the content game.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
you know exactly, more like
Well,
influencer marketing.
maybe-
that's where they really could come back.
Maybe what they're lacking now in the market, just because of all the competition and just the advances in technology, is that like that a unique selling proposition. Because like what's that store? I think it's called Plush, with like the bath bombs by the domain Lush. Like they came to fame because of one product pretty much, and I feel like Bed Bath & Beyond isn't necessarily known.
Their product became just an aesthetic, pretty much personality trait.
Yeah. And they don't really have that unique selling proposition anymore, a reason for people to really bring people in the door. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, I think that about wraps us up today. Thank you guys so much for watching The Daily Entrepreneur, episode 38. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the articles today. We'd love to talk to you about it. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps us up. And we got a quote of the day. Stand in reality, I'm 5'4". Stand on my money, I'm 6'6". Uzi Vert. There we go.
Shout out the boy.